Welcome in. I'm here with head coach of the Fannin County Lady Rebels, Ryan Chastain. Coach Chastain, you are headed to the Final Four. What for the? Is it the third time in your career on Saturday?
Second, second time.
Second, second time. Each team, you have each year is different. You've got different kids, different dynamics. What makes this one different than ones we've seen come through Fannin County in the past few years?
I think we got a pretty a pretty tight knit group of kids in our locker room. We only carried 13 kids on the roster this year, and they have a really good bond. Our upperclassmen have played together seems like forever. We you know they just have a unity to them. They share the ball incredibly well. They play as a unit defensively incredibly well. They run a transition incredibly well. And I really think it just comes down to they're a very selfless group. We haven't had very many. We haven't had any problems with egos and who's getting shots and things like that. They just want to win, and I think when it comes down to the best teams that you coach, that's what they all have in common is winning is the priority and not the individual accomplishments.
Yeah, actually, earlier this week talked to a group of coaches, and they were talking about your team this year and some of the things I wrote down. They said very unselfish team. They seem like they don't care who is scoring as long as somebody in white and blue is scoring. You've got Ledford and Lewis who are your leading scorers, but you've got. I mean, I was looking earlier at the stats. You've got a ton of kids on your team. Almost everybody on your team is averaging 4 to 6 points a game. So you've got contributors all over the floor. Is that something that you've had to, kind of adjust your own coaching style to because you've got so many kids that can get buckets?
Yeah, it is. We've worked just more on sharing the ball this year. I've worked more on passing the ball in practice this year than I ever have. I've just really seen a value in that. I'm in my seventh year as a head coach, and I felt like in my earlier years that was something that I just didn't put enough emphasis on. And we share the ball really well as a group. We had all the snow cancellations too, so we went through a stretch where we had to play. I think it was like 8 games in 15 days from snow cancellations. And when we went through, we were playing 9 and 10 kids every night because you have no time to rest. And during that stretch, we had different kids all along the way that were stepping up and scoring and making shots and playing defense. We've put a real emphasis on team defense. This may be our best defensive team I've had, not necessarily because of their we're not exceptionally athletic or anything like that. They just guard as a unit, and we put a lot of pressure on teams. We help well. Reese Lewis being the big kid that can rebound the ball, that's really helpful on defense because when you guard hard and you give up offensive rebounds, it can kind of wear you out. And her along with Emma Buckhannon and some others that play along the front line of our team have done a really good job rebounding the ball, and we've done a good job getting stops and holding teams to a low number of points. So I think some of those things have been different, but we've got 13 kids on our roster that can play varsity basketball, and that's really a testament to our middle school program, the stuff we do in the off season. But it's just the word that I keep coming back to is unity and teamwork, and this is what this team's about.
You talked about how they've developed over the years, with your leading upperclassmen. One of the things that I keep hearing when I talk to people that have been to a bunch of games or I go watch a game is the word effort. And that's something, that can't be coached. That's kind of something that, you talk to Coach Cheatham and other coaches in the Blue Ridge area, that seems like something that people from that area, you're either born with it or not, and more so than not, you're born with it. And it seems like you've got a bunch of kids that are just, all out effort every single play.
Yeah, there's a lot of want to in this group.
Yeah.
We've had success, outside of my first year here, and we've won a lot of games. But I just kind of feel like we were hungry this year, and I don't really know. I think sometimes coaches talk about those things, but you don't really know where that comes from. Like sometimes you just turn around and you got a group that just got a lot of want to in them. And it's not that the groups that we had in the past didn't have that, but like when we got into the playoff run, we had some teams in our region that weren't very good. And I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but there were some teams that we beat pretty bad. And so it can kind of lull you to sleep through the regular season. And we wasn't sure. We played very poorly in the region championship game, played good enough to win, but didn't play to our standard. And, you get nervous headed into the playoffs. But, man, when we hit the playoff run, this group kicked it into another gear. And we always give them the quote, be your best when your best is required. I start talking about that a lot late in the year, region tournament, state tournament. Now your best is required, your best effort, your best focus, your best execution. And I think they've really taken that to heart, and they caught another gear when we hit the state tournament.
So you've won 27 games. The season started off actually with a loss to Union County. How did your staff and your upperclassmen manage to right the ship? I know it was early in the year, and then you lose another one kind of middle of the year to Gilmer. How do you see these girls respond to losses like that and then get right back on the horse?
Yeah. I'm not going to take anything away from those two teams. They had great years. I mean, they're good basketball teams. I feel like the early one to Union had a lot to do with the fact, we pushed our season back as far as schedule wise because we play flag football here now. Our boys football program makes deep runs every year. So what we don't want to do is go play a bunch of games in November without some of our better players, So I felt like the loss at Union was a little bit attributed to the fact that we were just, kind of trying to get the rust knocked off of them, for lack of a better term. But Union beat us. Like, I don't want that taken out of context in any way. Like, on that night, they were better than us. But I think preparation right there, without having our full team, impacted that game a little bit. But they kind of took us. We've never played well up there. I've never hidden my feelings about playing up there in their gym. We've never just really played well on the road when we play at Union. And then the Gilmer loss, we played them. We beat them in the Christmas tournament championship game, and then we had to turn around and play them again in like 5 days after we had just beat them coming off Christmas break. And I told my kids, I said, look, we beat them the first time, and the second time we played them, they were just hungrier than we were. Like, they just wanted that game more than we did. So we never felt like those losses had like anything to do with what we were doing from an offensive or defensive standpoint, or what we were, a talent issue. It was none of those things. Just things you're going to run into when you got a 4 and 5 month long season, and you got teenage kids that are going to, play well and then play bad and this and that. And you're always hunting standards and consistency. But those two teams beat us, and I don't want those comments taken the wrong way. Like, they beat us those 2 games. So
Sure, but you guys did a great job, and it's got to be due to your staff and things that are getting said in the locker room of you talked about the region championship, that even though that was a win, you didn't play the way you wanted to. You guys have done a great job of staying, getting back on track and staying the course throughout a season as long as basketball is.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of that has to do with our commitment to, like, we've made our biggest commitment to being a good defensive team this year, more so than any year I've been here. And how basketball is. You're going to have nights you shoot the ball well. You're going to have nights you handle the ball well and then not. But our defense can't take a night off. Like, defense travels on the road and at home. Like, our defensive effort and consistency is what we've hung our hat on this year. My staff, and I've always been an open book. Megan Orton, who played at Shorter, and then Jenny Young, who played for me, and we brought on staff, Coach Hallmark, and Morgan Holt this year, who also played for me. They've been the biggest voices in there over the years, of being like, hey, we got to focus more on defense. We got to focus more on defense, because I always felt like I was an offensive-minded person when it came to coaching, and them bearing down on me. This year, we were like, all right, we're going to do it. Like, we're going to commit this amount of time to defense every day in practice. We're not going to give in. We're not going to scratch it from the practice plan. And I think that's been the biggest key to our success. And, Izzy Jabley is our point guard this year, and she passes the ball as well as any point guard I've had. And we've had some really good point guards here. And she's such a special passer that when we turn our defense into transition, she's so good at getting the ball up the floor. And we're so good when we get the ball in her hands of outrunning people up the floor in transition, turning defense into offense. She's been a huge key to that. So I think that goes hand in hand with the consistency, if that makes sense.
Sure, sure. This week you've got East Lawrence, a team you share a couple common opponents with. I think Coosa and Ace Academy. They actually lost their game to Ace Academy later in the year. You guys won that one when you were matched up with them. What do you expect to see from the Falcons on Saturday? Obviously, you're in the Final Four. You're going to get every team's best shot here in your playoffs. But what do you expect to see from them coming out?
They're very fast. They're very athletic. I think they've been on a heater right here at the end of the year. They were a little bit up and down in the regular season, like you said. Ace Charter had beat them, and they'd lost some other games, but the region tournament they got hot, and they kind of hadn't cooled off since. So basketball's a game of runs, and we want to keep them in front of us, make them make shots. Anytime you go to a neutral floor, a big arena that's different than the gyms you're used to playing in, all the sight lines of seats behind the goal and all those things that high school players aren't used to can change things. So I think what we really want to do is we want to make them try to make shots, not give them transition, and take care of the basketball. They're really aggressive defensively. Hurd was very aggressive defensively, so we feel like we got a little bit of work in on that the other night. But they're going to test us. They're very athletic and fast. We feel like we've got a plan that'll work. We got to go execute, though. We got 2 practices and a walkthrough on Saturday to get our kids ready. And that's one more thing I want to brag on this group about. When we have installed plans in practice, we have a very smart group of kids this year. When we've installed plans in practice, they have tried to execute everything that we've asked them to do. And I think that's something that people think, oh, well, the coach just puts the plan in, the kids do it. It don't always work like that. And this group's done a really good job of taking what we've asked them to do and trying to do it. So we'll have a plan for them. And, when it comes down to it, it always sounds simple, but you just got to make more shots than the other team. It's just a matter of how you get there. And East Lawrence, they're a very good team. Their point guard is lightning quick. She's a very good player. I think she averages about 18 or 20 a game. So that'll be a good challenge for us and our defense that we feel like's been our backbone all year, and we're going to go down there and try to guard them.
Well, Coach, good luck to you guys. I know you have had a lot of support this year, off the court from your booster club and your staff and everybody like that. So we're wishing you all kinds of luck. Anybody you want to shout out before we get off here?
Just community support mostly. From the day I got the job till all the way through last week, our community support in Fannin County has been unbelievable. The businesses of the community, the people of the community that are former players and have parents that watch their kids that still come back, even though they have really no vested interest in the game. Like all the people that we've seen, coming out in the playoff run, or all the people that's been at Fannin County basketball games for, 30 years. And we have a culture in women's basketball here in this community. A lot of my kids that play now, their parents played for Coach Farmer, or dads played basketball here. So, our community takes a ton of pride in what it means to be a Lady Rebel, and that filters down into our players. And they really work hard to represent our community well. So I think that goes both ways. Our community investing so much in us, and we want to represent them well. And it's just Fannin County women's basketball. It's just a good place to be. And I'm blessed to be the coach. But man, it's so much more than what we're doing, man. It's community wide. It's school wide. So much support from our other athletic programs too. We have such a good relationship with the coaches in our athletic department. So all those people, you can't thank them all because you'll miss somebody, but all the support in our community has been unbelievable. Well,
I know it's 3 or so hours out there to where you're playing Saturday, but I know Fannin County is going to travel well, and we wish you luck. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you.